History bears testament to those who have led a nation. From the early kings that united warring tribes to create some semblance of a nation, to those that have caught the spirit and essence of their people and turned it into the ingredients to forge empires. We have seen those who have risen to lead. Kings, queens, emperors, revolutionaries, generals, presidents and prime ministers. Each has sought to harness the power of a nation and with it govern it. Some seek stability, others glory and conquest, and others wish to make the nation great again. From Julius Caesar to Margaret Thatcher, from Cleopatra to JFK, from Queen Elizabeth to Winston Churchill, and from Wu Zetian to Barack Obama, we have witnessed leaders rise and fall. The great and the greedy, the peaceful and the pugilists, the builders and the bringers of destruction. The world has witnessed many leaders. But what if your favorite YouTubers found themselves installed as a leader of a nation, be it an existing one or a virgin nation state? How would they lead? What would change? What would remain? What would their key policies be? What would be the national anthem? Who would form their cabinet? How would they rule? Well, you are about to find out in HG Tudor's exciting new series, If I Ruled My World, where YouTubers hold the reins of power and you decide if you want them as your leader. Hello, I'm HG Tudor, and welcome to another episode of If I Ruled My World. This is the series where the reins of power are handed to various YouTubers, and we get to find out what the vision they have is for their nation. This nation might be an existing one where they think they could do a better job than the present incumbent, or an entirely fictional nation, but it still exists within planet Earth. Today, I'm joined by Grumpy Sapper. Hello, Grumpy.
Hello, HG. How the devil are you, sir?
I'm Tickety Boo. Thank you for your kind inquiry. We shall soon find out whether your grumpiness permeates your nation. Now, let us kick off with what's the name of your country, Grumpy?
Well, it was originally called New Zealand, but I've now called it Terra Melodiosa, which is Land of Music.
Terra Melodiosa.
Correct, Latin.
Yes, absolutely, Melodiosa. It sounds like something Harry Potter might say as he's waiting.
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you? Oh dear, how terribly predictable I am. Still, but that's a good name, Terra Melodiosa, and that's linked to the sort of the land of music.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's certainly going to set a theme for us. So, Terra Melodiosa it is. What's its capital?
The capital is called Rock.
Rock, R-O-C-K?
Rock, R-O-C-K, and you've got subsidiaries of classic rock, you've got soft rock, you've got... It kind of sets the picture.
Okay, so Rock's the capital, and one of the suburbs is hard, and then another suburb is soft, and then you might venture into, I don't know, adult-orientated rock.
Yeah, progressive.
Progressive, fantastic. Well, you've thought that through. Okay.
What I've done is I think with all the different areas, so your Birminghams, your Manchesters, all that, would be jazz, would be pop.
So every single city would be a form of music.
It would be a genre, absolutely.
I suppose you're going to put death metal in South Wales.
Oh God, yes, that's got
Yeah.
it's got to be that one.
Okay, well, you said, do you think you'd have enough? Let's assume that Terra Melodiosa is a fairly populous country. What's its population, would you say?
Probably say it's going to be probably about 50 million, something like that.
50 million, so a bit less than the UK's current population. So roughly probably the population of England. So that's pretty populated. Do you think you'd have enough types of music to name all of the cities?
I think creativity would have to come into play, I think.
You know, if we were to do an extended episode of this, we could just sit here and name all the cities, couldn't we? Just go through them all. Yeah. Well, maybe something for another occasion. I like that idea, though, of having all of the cities named after different types of music. Presumably, there'd be areas you just wouldn't want to go to.
Well, you'd stay away from rap. Yeah.
You would, wouldn't you? Rap wouldn't be a very popular place to go to. Absolutely. I'd certainly be beating my way to synth pop or electronic dance music. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, good call. I like that. Okay. Now, Grumpy, what's your seat of power?
I'm going to be the monarch.
You're going to be the monarch. So it's King Grumpy.
Absolutely.
Okay, King Grumpy the First.
I think it has to be. I can't think of any other one.
Okay, so King Grumpy the First, sat in his capital of Rock, looking over Terra Melodiosa. Excellent. Well, this is where you're really going to have to shine, given that this is a country that is built on music. What's your national anthem?
I'm going to be rather patriotic now. It has to be Land of Hope and Glory.
Land of Hope and Glory, a solid choice for that. Certainly one that gets the old chest beating going. Land of Hope and Glory. And when might we hear Land of Hope and Glory, Grumpy? Is it played at state occasions? Is it played at the beginning of football matches? Is it played Sunday afternoon on a street corner? Be blasted out, is it?
It will be invested in the people of being proud to be in Melodosians.
Okay. Proud Melodosians singing Land of Hope and Glory. When they've been, all that singing will make them pretty hungry, I should imagine. And I don't really think that you're going to be able to eat musical notes. So what's the national dish?
It has to be roast dinner with all the trimmings.
Roast dinner. Okay. Now, a roast dinner, what would the meat be?
You know what? I'm very partial to a roast beef. I've got to be
roast beef. Okay, so some beef. What veg are we going to see with this roast dinner?
I think it's got to be the standard stuff. It's got to be the potato, the swede, the carrot, and peas, of course.
Swede, carrot, peas. Does a Yorkshire pudding find its way into this?
Oh, absolutely. That's a done deal already. That's already in there, signed and sealed.
Okay, I think you'd have to rename it though, wouldn't you? Because there wouldn't be any place such as Yorkshire in your country. I suppose if you've imported it from the United Kingdom, you might call it a Yorkshire pudding. But I'm imagining an imaginative man such as yourself would label it something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got to think about that one. I never thought about the Yorkshire side of it.
Yeah, because you would. Yeah, if for instance a city the equivalent of York is renamed, so that it's, for instance, I don't know, you might decide that that's just called.
Well, it could be Leeds vocal.
Yes, it could be lead vocal pudding. There we are. Okay, well that's a possibility. So that's the national dish, and is that eaten once a year, every week?
I think it has to be a Sunday, doesn't it? Always has to be a Sunday roast. I've grown up having Sunday roasts. Unfortunately, I don't get them over here as much as I'd like. But
no. Okay. Can you cook a good Sunday roast?
Oh, I love cooking.
Do you? Yeah. Okay.
I do.
I'm getting a serious vibe that this is a sort of nostalgic United Kingdom that's being created here.
I'll keep going because it's going to change.
All right. Okay. Right. Well, that's me told. What's the national animal of Terra Melodiosa?
Well, listen, I've got a miniature pincer here. and she's a beautiful dog, very affectionate, but she's very protective. She's a little bundle of muscle, you know, and she's very territorial, and she'll stand her ground.
So that's the national animal. I didn't quite catch the breed.
Miniature pincer.
Miniature pincer.
Yeah, or a min pin, as they call it.
Yeah, miniature pincer. Okay, so that's the national animal. Small but ferocious.
Yes.
Okay. How tall are you, Grumpy?
I'm 5'10".
All right, so you're reasonably tall. So I couldn't call you small but ferocious. That's okay. Talk me through your flag. What does that look like?
My flag is I've broken it down into the way I foresee my country. So the yellow would be beaches and the sands, and the blue would be water.
Yep.
But what I'm also introducing is hydroelectricity for power. I would also have the blue for desalination. So we would take, because we're surrounded by water.
Okay. So an island nation. Yeah.
Yep. So you'd have your your water supplied. The green would be agricultural and forestry. And so it would be split with a green, a blue, and a yellow.
Okay.
And I've done the flag already. And what I'll do is I'll send that one to you.
Yeah, you send that to me, and we'll put that up on the screen so we can see that. So it's green at the top, then blue in the center, and then yellow. So
and then what I've got is a bottle of rum in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Surrounded by a wreath of barley wheat.
A wreath of, why barley wheat?
Well, wheat and barley. So we're going to start, with agricultural. We can start pushing the farmer forward.
Why isn't there a combine harvester on this flag?
The flag's not big enough.
Okay, and why rum? Are you a closet pirate?
I am. I love rum. Rum is my medicine. Rum keeps me going.
Okay, fair enough. So it keeps the king of Terra Melodiosa going, and so it's going to keep the nation going as well. So, well, that's an interesting flag, and I like what it represents as well, that you've given thought to the various representative elements of it. So an island nation, so naturally it's got its beaches and it's surrounded by the blue water with hydroelectricity. Is that big in your country in terms of energy production?
It is, yes. I mean, if we're utilizing the nature's resources, then why not? Why can't we, convert it to power?
Are we talking on the Norwegian scale? I think 99% of their electricity comes from hydroelectric power.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So you'll be able to sell it to other countries as well, presumably.
For sure. There's got to be some sort of economy back into it.
Absolutely, yeah. The economy is not something I've delved into too much in this series, in order not to start arguments with people, but because I think people get bogged down in the detail on that. Okay, well, that's a very interesting flag. Thank you for that. What is the national motto of Terra Melodiosa?
The motto is, music will set you free, in brackets, not if you're in jail.
Not if you're in jail. Are you not allowed music in prison? Is that taken away from you?
Absolutely, it's part of the punishment.
Yeah. So if you if you've gone to the showers in the prison and you've avoided slipping on the soap, and you start deciding you're going to belt out a few bars of a Take That song, will a prison guard come along and give you the old electric kettle problem and say, "No, then stop that nonsense"?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Unless they're sat down doing oops upside your head.
Okay. Why music will set you free? I mean, we know the nation's built on music, but why in particular do you see that music will set you free?
I think music is a mental health release. I think, it makes people feel good. It's one of those things that's therapeutic, and it takes you away from all your stresses and the strains, or makes it easier to deal with.
For those of you watching, you may not know that Grumpy's quite an accomplished musician himself, and has a good voice, actually, alongside his
I
music.
didn't sing it.
Oh, did you not sing it?
No, I
Not
didn't.
you? Was that someone
No, it's
else?
not me.
Oh, right.
It-
Okay. I'm going to take that compliment back then. I'll just say he's an accomplished musician because he wrote a song about me and it was complimentary. So that obviously gets you painted white if you
Yes.
do that. So it's on his channel. You can go and have a listen to that in respect of hearing what he had to get somebody else to sing in relation to me. But he composed it and wrote the lyrics, didn't you?
I did,
Yeah.
yes.
Excellent. There we are. Okay. So that's the national motto. Music will set you free, which is predicated on the concept of it being good for your mental health and that music is important in that respect. Now, what about your national day, Grumpy? When's that?
Well, it's got to be the monarch's birthday. My
Okay.
birthday.
And what date's that?
22nd of August.
Okay. And what's the national day called?
The monarch's birthday.
Just the monarch's birthday.
Okay, let me change that. The monarch's piss up.
The monarch's piss up.
Piss up.
Piss up. Okay. So that's when the rum gets consumed, presumably.
Absolutely. Everybody's encouraged to start drinking rum and brewing rum.
Okay. I was going to ask you what happens on the national day, but we've covered that. Basically, everybody gets banjaxed. So that's.
I think it's going to be another Glastonbury, isn't it?
Well, without the mud, hopefully.
Oh God, yeah, God.
Yeah. I must confess, the idea of spending my time amongst mud with people who don't particularly have much regard for hygiene is a form of personal hell for me. I think I'd be inclined to start shooting, but that's just me.
I was in the army, so I know what it's like to be in lots of mud.
That's right. It's, nevertheless, it still doesn't mean you have to put up with it or enjoy it, does it? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've got our national day, the monarch's piss up. That's certainly something that I could get behind. What's your currency called?
My currency are called crotchets, and my coinage is called minims.
So the note's called what? Crotchets.
Crotchets.
Crotchets. Oh yes, in the musical sense. Yeah.
Correct.
And the coins are called
minims.
Minions. Okay.
Minims.
Sorry. Okay. Well, again, that all makes sense. And with your lowest denomination of crotchet, let's call it a 5 crotchet note. Who or what appears on that note?
Phil Collins.
Okay. Why Phil?
Because Phil, I love Phil Collins. I think he's an amazing singer, a very accomplished musician and drummer and pianist. The reason why I've put him in the lowest is because the lowest denominations gets used the most. That's why I've put him on the bottom.
So you want to be able to see a lot of Phil, in essence?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Whenever I hear Phil Collins, it just makes me think of American Psycho, when Patrick Bateman goes, "Susudio, a great, great song," and then starts to wax lyrical about it. Okay, so we're going to be seeing Phil everywhere. We're going to be getting a few Phil Collins crotchet notes together to buy a bottle of rum. Who is going to appear on, say, the 500 crotchet note?
That'll be Angus Young.
Say that again?
Angus Young, lead guitarist, AC/DC.
Ah, yes. Guitarist from AC/DC. Okay. Why Angus?
Angus has been my hero ever since I was a kid.
So you're a big fan of the Axeman.
Yeah, I met Slash many years ago. I looked after him on a VIP.
Yeah.
And he was one of my heroes as well.
You're a guitarist, aren't you?
No.
You're not.
I can play the keyboard a bit.
You play the keyboard. Okay. Not fancy playing the guitar?
I would love to, but I'm too old now. I'm 55.
Nonsense. Presumably you can play the air guitar.
Listen, I rock the air guitar.
Exactly.
Especially if I'm on stage, when I'm on stage, I meant my dining table.
Yes. If you've consumed some rum and you're up there on the dining table, performing at Glastonbury in your head, wielding that. It's only a few simple chords and away you go. There are particular pop stars who've managed to get away with just certain chords, haven't they? That they managed
too. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's who's on the notes. So that's who we're going to be seeing in circulation. Now we're going to turn to get down to some detail here, Grumpy, about your policies. So we're going to go through a number of them. I'm going to offer to you certain options. You have to make a selection. You can't caveat it. You have to choose the one that's closest to what you would like. So we're going to start with the foreign policy of Terra Melodiosa. Is it the case that you would be defense only, or would you aid allied nations and defend your own country? Or would you adopt a more interventionist world policing role? Or would you be expansionist, thinking, aha, over there is the country that used to be part of us, we're going to invade and take that back? Or you look at something and think, we'll take some historical territories back, and also we quite like the look of all of that parchment over there. We want that to write our music on, so we're going to invade them to take that. Or is your stance a particularly belligerent one, which is, you've looked at me funny, I'm invading you?
It has to be aid allied.
Aid allied.
Correct.
Okay.
I have to work with the guys who are allies to me.
Okay, so you're going to be, you're not going to be antagonistic, you're not going to be provocative, you're just going to defend your own country and aid allied nations. Fair enough?
Correct. Yep.
Let's look at nuclear missiles. Is it the case you don't have any? Or do you have them, but only as a deterrent, and you'll never use them accordingly, but you don't make that known? Or is it the case that if somebody fires nuclear weapons at you, you'll fire them back? Or is your attitude, hey, it's nuking time, anybody has a go at me, I'm going to nuke them?
Unfortunately, I would only have them as a deterrent, but wouldn't use them.
Deterrent only. I read yesterday that Threads was shown again on BBC 4 last night, film that I'd seen a number of years ago. I think it's only been broadcast 4 times in the United Kingdom, which many people say is the most frightening film that they've ever watched because of the reality of what it's about. Have you seen it?
I haven't, no.
I recommend that you do so. It's very, very interesting. Given that you've not seen it, I'll move on. Press freedom. Is it the case with press freedom? So no state interference, or will you interfere on the grounds of national security? Will you interfere on the basis that whatever you deem sensitive, you can interfere in relation to that? Or would you ensure that the media is state-owned?
I would have that level of certain free speech, but there has to be a point where you have to turn the vice up and just say national security only.
National security only. Okay. Religious tolerance. Is there complete freedom of worship and expression? Or is there freedom of worship unless you're provocative to other people? Or is it simply your existing indigenous religion, but you will secretly tolerate others? Or is it a case of it's your indigenous religion only, there's no tolerance of anything else, and indeed you'll persecute those unapproved religions, burn the heretics? Or is your stance, you worship me and only me, remember?
I think it's freedom of worship unless it's provocative.
Okay.
Because once it starts being provocative, it's time to knock it on the head.
Okay. What would you deem as provocative? Let's say, for example, we have a group that basically can't stand music and their religion is silence. Okay. So they basically go around trying to suggest that people's guitar strings should be cut, that pianos should be set on fire. They do all of this with literature. What's the attitude to them?
They're going to go in the stocks.
They're going in the stocks. Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
That'll learn them.
That'll learn them. Okay. And presumably, when you put them in the stock, you'll subject them to 24-hour blast of Celine Dion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or some rap. Exactly. That would certainly have their ears bleeding. Yeah. Okay. What about a religion that develops in Terra Melodiosa that is let's just say they suggest that music corrupts the soul. Music does not set you free. In fact, the devil reaches you through rock music. Indeed, as has been suggested in the past, if you play those records backwards, Satan is telling you to burn people and such like. That's their message. What's the view there?
Deportation.
They're going to be deported, but they're not actually harming anybody. They're just putting out a contrary view.
Yeah, I'm not having it. No,
You're not having it.
Crushing music. No.
Okay. What if there was a religion which basically said that jelly babies are the deity and that they venerate jelly babies and they go around buying as many packets of jelly babies as they can so that other people can't eat them?
Sorry, I'd have to clamp down on that because I like the black ones.
Okay, so personal influence there. How would you clamp down on them? We've had the stocks, we've had deportation. How would the jelly baby hoarders go? How would they be dealt with?
They'd be put in a stock, so I'm going to sit and eat jelly babies in front of them.
You are a cruel man, Grumpy.
I know,
that's such a vicious response, but one that I can only applaud. Absolutely.
I'm a jelly baby bitch. Sorry.
Exactly. I get the impression you've been called that before, actually, but we won't go into why you've got that name.
Yeah, that's personal.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Now then, let's turn to the question of equality. Is it the case that minorities are actively supported, they're protected, and they gain positive discrimination? Or minorities are protected by anti-discrimination legislation? Is your stance, we promote on ability, we're not here to fill quotas? Or minority issues are ignored. At the end of the day, they're a minority, so who gives a rat's ass? Or minorities are actively persecuted because they're basically a pain in the jacksie.
Promote on ability, not quotas.
Ability, not quotas. Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because in my experience, there is so many lighthouses in the desert. And when I say lighthouses in the desert, they're very bright, but they're absolutely useless.
Yeah.
So there's people like myself, and I don't have a degree, but I know what I do very, very well.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. So it's all about the ability, irrespective of background and
absolutely right.
Sexual orientation, etc. All right, understood. We're now going to turn to your short form cabinet. Naturally, your king, supreme leader, defender of the faith and all that, but you can't do everything. So certain roles have originated so that you can delegate certain responsibilities to these people. 5 positions have been selected. They can be real people or fictional people. Who's your defense chief?
Bruce Dickinson, lead singer of Iron Maiden.
Why? Now, I know Bruce Dickinson is actually quite an accomplished man. He not only is he, you know, he's a fencer, isn't he? He's a swordsman alongside a musician and many other things as well. I think he's got doctorates and all sorts.
He's a pilot.
He's a pilot as well. Okay, but why would he make a good defense chief?
Because he is very patriotic, and he's very pro veterans and military. Okay,
so obviously having served yourself, there's a link with that and his patriotism to Terra Melodiosa. It was without question, so therefore you can presumably rely on him to repel the invaders when the chips are down.
Absolutely.
Okay, makes sense. Who's your foreign secretary, Grumpy?
John Bon Jovi.
I'm sensing a theme here. Okay, why John Bon Jovi?
Because everybody likes John Bon Jovi. And as a foreign secretary, he could go to different countries and be welcomed in open arms, and they'll do whatever he wants.
Would you mandate it that when he greets people, he has to lay down a few lines from some of his songs?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, presumably that's part of his appeal.
Absolutely.
So he could launch into living on a prayer, couldn't he, when he goes to meet...
It's a sweetener. It's a sweetener for the deal.
It's a sweetener. Yeah, that's the way to look at it. Okay, he'll soon have those other nations eating out the palm of his hand, I should imagine.
Absolutely right.
Okay, let's see if this theme continues. Who's Chief Scientific Officer?
I've put two actually, and I'd like to
Yep.
put in Brian May because he's an astrophysicist, a very, very
Yep.
clever guy, and
Yep.
also Elon Musk. Has to be Elon, doesn't it?
And Elon. Okay, so we've got a non-musical person who's managed to get into the cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that Elon would be content to share the role? Do you not think he'd want to take it over for himself?
I think as far as scientific is concerned, Brian is he's a professor, I think, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think Elon would take Brian's advice, and I think they
Okay.
could work very well together.
I suppose he could always shut him up with his beautiful curls and just sort of muffle him with those, couldn't he? He's got plenty of luxurious hair, albeit it's sort of white grey these days rather than glossy black. Okay.
He's aged quite a lot, hasn't he?
Well, it comes to us all, Grumpy.
Unfortunately, it does. Even look,
Yeah.
getting the great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm regularly drinking the blood of virgins and keeping my youthful good looks, but even I've noticed occasionally the effects of aging. But let us move on now to who your Chancellor of the Exchequer is. Who is going to be holding the purse strings?
You're going to love this answer, and it's going to be completely off the wall.
Yeah, go on.
I think Nancy and Stephanie's mum, Mrs. Sidley.
Right. Have you met Mrs. Sidley? Is there something I've not been told?
No, but I love watching Nancy and Steph. It's what they said is it has to be their mum, because when it comes to the purse string, she's very fair, and I think that's a very redeeming factor.
Now, you might be able to remember this better than I can, because I think it was Stephanie that basically had a cabinet which was all of her family, so it was nepotism central. Was Mar Sidley the Chancellor in Rockstella?
I can't remember.
I know she had a role. I know she had a role.
Nancy's. It was definitely Nancy's that said it was their mum.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I think it was Nancy's.
Okay, yeah. Well, she had Nancitopia, didn't she? I'm just wondering if Mrs. Sidley would be able to utilise a dual role.
I'm sure they'd love a trip over to Melodiosa.
Well, maybe Bruce Dickinson needs to send us a crack squad of your musical soldiers to extract her in a black ops mission, perhaps. Yeah. Okay. So she's going to be the Chancellor because you think that she's a very fair person. Who do we find as Minister for Fun?
Minister of Fun is a very good friend of mine, and her name's Anna Miller, and she has I've met her through YouTube, and we've had many a virtual knees up online, and she's the only person recently who has me in tears.
Okay, and tears of laughter, presumably.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What's her name again?
Annabelle Miller. She's got fortune cookies, tarot. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Annabelle Miller. Okay, so she cracks you up. So you think that she will keep the good denizens of Terra Melodiosa?
Oh God, yeah.
Laughing until they wee. Okay, well that's the short form cabinet. Thank you for that. Which country would be your major ally out of the existing ones on Earth?
I think it has to be Australia, because Australia is my immediate neighbour.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's your immediate neighbour as to where Terra Melodiosa is placed on the globe. Okay, what do you like about the Aussies?
Well, they like the music. They like a good beer or two, don't they? And it's barbecue central. And where we are in Melodiosa, we have all the seasons. So I'm sure that it'll be one time it'll be summer and everybody else can come over and join us, and vice versa.
Would you say that Australia has a reputation for good music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Angus Young, AC/DC came from Australia.
Yeah, In Excess.
Yeah, good band. Very good band.
Aren't they?
Absolutely.
Wasn't that? Was it Tones who did Dance Monkey? Isn't she Australian?
I don't know.
You don't know. I mean, you've got
Men at Work.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say Men at Work. I mean, if you don't like Men at Work, then you're not worth knowing,
Yeah.
are you?
I think Savage Garden were Australian as well, weren't they?
Yeah. And is it John Farnham who did You're the
John
Voice?
Farnham.
Yeah, he was Australian as well, I think, wasn't he? So yeah, I think,
Yeah.
okay, so they've got their musical chops. That's secured. Which country would be your main enemy, Grumpy?
Egypt.
It's rather quick and specific. Why is that?
In my life, I have had so many run-ins with Egyptians, and sorry, I've now become very voiced about Egyptians. I won't tolerate them.
Okay, those run-ins that you've had with the Egyptians, has it taken place in Egypt or elsewhere, or both?
Oh no, it's here. It's here where I am now.
Oh, it's here where you are. Okay,
Yeah.
so they're a bit of a rum bunch, are they?
All liars, all cheats.
All liars and all cheats. Okay. So they are not going to find themselves in favour.
No.
No. Okay. I'm just thinking, is there any Egyptian music that could perhaps smooth relations between them and Terra Melodiosa? But
I think not. I don't think there's anything that Egyptians can write that make you foot tap.
no, there's nothing notable that springs to mind in terms of Egyptian music. If anybody in the comments section knows of any Egyptian bangers that might perhaps lead to more cordial relations between these two nations, let us know.
Although Bananarama did one.
What, an Egyptian song?
Yeah, Walking Like an Egyptian.
That was the Bangles.
Oh, sorry, the Bangles. Sorry, Bangles. Bananarama. Started rather be.
Hey, girl groups are all the same, aren't they? They just merge into one. You're not really listening. You're just looking at them, aren't you? Come on, I found you.
Absolutely.
I found you out. I've exposed you. Okay. All right then. Well, this might actually be something of a foregone conclusion, but would any particular group not be welcome in your country?
Well, I've split it into three. Definitely Egyptians first.
Okay.
Then woke people. I don't do woke. And then
No woke
violent
people?
Violent people.
And violent people.
Yeah.
Okay. So how are your armed forces going to get on? Because they will have to deploy violence.
Well, when I say violent, I mean domestic violence. People who are violent to their partners. People who go out stabbing. Let's not bring all this in, but you know where I'm coming from.
Okay, so basically any violence that's used that hasn't been sanctioned by the state.
Yes.
Yeah. I once thought about joining the police, at one point, and when I was asked why, it was a consequence of some. I said, well, it was because of the excessive violence and corruption. And so someone said, "Oh, you want to stamp it out?" I said, "No, I want to be part of it." That would appeal to me, to have state-approved violence, to get hold of some scrote and give them a good battening. But anyway,
well, I was a police officer for 7 years.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which area of the country, if you don't mind saying?
I was in Kent and North Wales.
Kent and North Wales. Okay. Yeah. Right. So no violent people, essentially, where it's not state approved. Woke people. Now, Johnny,
You really want to bring this one in?
yeah, absolutely. I want to probe this one. So Johnny arrives at the border. Okay. How do we determine whether he's woke or not?
That's a very, very difficult question to ask, because it's more actions speak volumes, isn't it?
So you'd have to let him in first and watch what he does, and then if he gets woke, he's booted. But
Yes.
wouldn't that take a tremendous amount of resource in Terra Melodiosa? Surely better to not let them in the first place. I mean, wouldn't it be easy, for example, to get hold of, I don't know, some woke literature or some kind of woke flag and set fire to it in front of them, and if they start to wail and they get triggered, like, you're not coming in, nice and easy.
No, I think you. Okay, maybe I'm just being stereotypical, but there's there's so many woke people with woke agenda.
Okay, but I want to know what you see as woke.
Well, it's sexualization, isn't it? It says, oh, you only got this job because you're a woman, and things like this. Going back to what I previously said, it's not based on your sex, it's not based on your religion or anything like this. If you're going to get a job purely based on the color of your skin, your sexuality, or your religious, background, that to me is woke. And if it's proven, which will bring me on to my policies.
Okay. What if somebody, what if somebody in your health service suggests that when a child is born, they shouldn't be referred to as either boy or girl? They should just be called baby.
Stocks
for them. That's wokeism. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're just screwing it down, you see, to a bit of detail, because woke is an amorphous concept, isn't it? So it's just to get an idea of what those things are. Would it be fair to say that it's something that you find is not in the natural order of things?
Absolutely. I mean, it's there's so many different ways that,
What about somebody with pink hair?
you're entitled to, listen, if you want to have pink hair, you have pink hair. I've got no issue with it too.
But come on, Grumpy. These people that normally have pink hair, they come along and they
try and twist the agenda. They try and change the agenda.
Yeah.
They come with an agenda.
Yeah.
It's a case of that is the legislation, and that's how it's going to be. There's going to be no deviation from that.
Okay. So the Egyptians are out. The woke people, they're not welcome, and people who engage in violence other than when it's state-sponsored, they're not welcome either. Good. Okay. Let's turn now to your foundation policies. There are 5. This is where you really get to flex as King Grumpy the First. What's your first policy?
My first policy is everybody must learn to play a musical instrument, and recorders are banned from kids.
Everyone must learn a musical instrument. Recorders, Satan's flute.
Yeah.
Recorders are banned.
Yeah.
It is one of the most tortuous things to hear is a group of small children attempting to play Three Blind Mice on a recorder. Yeah.
I can remember buying a recorder and sending it to my friend's son, and my friend sent it back broken in 2 and said, "I'm a bastard."
That's one way to make enemies, isn't it? To send somebody a recorder for their kid. It's a dreadful sound. It's interesting, actually, isn't it? Because I suppose it's done because they're comparatively easy to play, and the idea is to try and get children to be able to read music. But I would say that there's a better route with that, which is the piano. Because the piano is the easiest musical instrument to get a sound out of. You just need to strike it. You don't need to blow it in a particular way. You don't need to pluck it in a particular way. You just need to strike it. The difficulty with the piano, of course, is you've got two lines of music. But you could start off with just playing one so that they learn. So okay, that seems sensible. So everybody must learn a musical instrument. When does that start? What age?
I think as soon as, in nursery classes, they should be introduced. Well, I know they're introduced to music already. I've got a friend of mine who works in a nursery school over in Canada. I wrote a song. It was The Gingerbread Man. And she plays it to the kids, and the kids love it. What
about drums?
I'm actually a drummer. I actually played drums many, many years ago. So I would actively involve drums and percussion.
Okay. Drums are okay. All right. What's policy number 2, please, Grumpy?
Policy number 2 is if politicians are caught lying, then they automatically lose their jobs and legal actions are taken against them.
Politicians are caught lying, they automatically lose their jobs.
Yep.
There's going to be no There's going to be no politicians in your country.
No. I know.
Okay.
So,
and are those lies? Will it be lies of commission or also lies of omission?
I would say both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have got no politicians in your country. Which might actually be the idea of the policy, mightn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, you just be an absolute monarch, and then you don't have any politicians. It sounds entirely feasible and sensible to me. Okay, policy number 3, please.
Farming and agriculture will be encouraged for sustained living.
Mm-hmm. Farming and agriculture encouraged for sustained living. How would you encourage farming?
The government would be pushing money towards farming and investing in the farmers that they've got.
Aren't farmers wealthy enough? They're driving around in great 4x4s, basically, setting fires to cows in fields and laughing.
That's true, but the farming community does have an honest side to it.
Yeah. I had a former girlfriend of mine, and her father was a farmer. And I remember he rented his land off an absent Canadian landowner, and his default setting was miserable. He was not a happy man. The only reason he tolerated me was that we both supported the same football team, and I've no idea why he supported City, which is my side. I never got around to asking him, and I was always waiting for, when I was slipping a crippler to his daughter, I was always waiting to feel the cold steel of his gun barrel nestling between my arms. That's the only place that I could ever lure her away without his withering glare would be into the fields or whatever. Fortunately, that never came to pass. But yeah, he was interested. So farming would be encouraged. Jolly
Yes.
good. Policy number 4.
Immigration will be scrutinised. If a baby is born in Melodiosa to foreign nationals, that baby does not become a Melodiosian.
Right. Okay. Why is that?
It means that the investors, if they come here or come to my country and they've come to work, that it keeps the migration down. So you're not going to have too many immigrants in my country. So because you're born here doesn't mean you are a national. You will be a national of your parents.
So let us say, for instance, there's a French couple that have immigrated. One's a doctor, one's an engineer. They are providing useful services in Terra Melodiosa. And Jean-Pierre has been born. He's French. He's not Terra Melodiosan.
Correct.
Is he allowed to stay, though?
Yes. As long as the parents have got right to stay and they've got the correct visa, yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't mean that they become a national.
Okay. Would he be regarded by birth? Because you say, well, where were you born? And you'd be, well, I was born in Terra Melodiosa, but I'm not a citizen of that country.
Correct.
Okay. So could he ever acquire citizenship of your country?
No.
No. Okay.
The only time that would happen is if their parents or if that person had done something very, very valuable to the country.
Okay. But if he's allowed to stay because Ma and Pa are providing a service to your country, so he's going to access your education system, he's going to access your health system, presumably. If something goes wrong, he'll be protected by the police, he'll be protected by Bruce Dickinson's army. So why not grant him citizenship? He's accessing all of your services and protections.
I would disagree. I would say that the parents are on a visa. They haven't got citizenship.
Right.
So what gives them the right to have the citizenship because you were born there?
Okay. And is this basically...
It's like saying the old adage, just because a mouse is born in a stable, it doesn't make him a horse.
No, but that's a question of biology as opposed to, because the concept of the country that you come from is just a construct, isn't it? Nobody's actually there's no biological species called the Briton. You are a Briton by virtue of where you were born, so it's not an accurate comparison. But would it not be the case that is this designed basically to prevent you being breeded out by immigrants?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's what's behind it. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Policy number 5, please, Grumpy.
Okay, policy number 5 is national service will be compulsory. And the reason why, I mean, I know this is a bit of a hot potato for a lot of people, is because it's not national service as in just military. It's across the whole spectrum. So you've got the police, the military, the civil defence, the civil service. So everybody from the age of 18 or once they've finished education will have to go through their national service. Because
how long would it last?
It will be for 2 years, and that will be training people in leadership and development and life skills, and learning about life.
Yeah. So encouraging them basically to give something to the nation rather than sitting eating cheesy Wotsits and daytime television. Yeah. Okay. So you'd expand it beyond the military.
Yes.
Do you so you mentioned the police, the civil service, civil defence.
Yep.
What about, let us say that you have a state healthcare system. Would they be encouraged to work in that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
It's part of the community service.
Would they be paid?
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they will walk away with that with qualifications, depending on what arm or what part of the service industry they're part of. So, if they're going to be police, they're going to have qualifications. They're going to be military, depending which arm. It could be engineers, signalers, whatever. They're going to leave with qualifications as well.
Would they be paid the same amount as any other entry-level individual?
Yes, absolutely. It's fair.
So there's no cheap labour aspect of this.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Grumpy, thank you very much for sharing a very interesting vision of Terra Melodiosa. Valuable viewers, you've heard what Grumpy Sapper has to say. We're King Grumpy, as I ought to really be referring to His Majesty.
I have to wear my crown.
There it is. Yeah, put your crown on whilst I wrap up. There we are. Fantastic. Suits you, sir.
Zulu.
Yeah, absolutely. Top film. Absolutely. Somebody shoot that chap there.
Stop throwing them bloody spears at me.
Exactly. Where did all those bloody Zulus come from? Yeah, absolutely. Well, leaving Zulu to one side, don't get me started on that or we'll never stop. Terra Melodiosa, it's a country that's built on music. And music will set you free unless you're in jail. And you could be going to jail or finding yourself in the stocks if you are woke or if you're Egyptian. I don't think the Bangles we play too often with Walk Like an Egyptian because King Grumpy wouldn't be particularly pleased about that. You're chowing down on a roast dinner on a Sunday. Yum, yum. It's roast beef, potato, sweet carrot peas with a lead vocal pudding also. You get to stand beneath the flag of green, blue, and yellow with a bottle of rum and a wreath of barley and wheat as you belt out Land of Hope and Glory. You might have first be mistaken for being taken back to 1950s England, but in actual fact, there's more to it than that. This is a place where allied nations are protected, where national security is the basis for interfering with the press, but more importantly, farming is going to be encouraged in terms of sustainable agriculture. There aren't going to be any politicians because we all know they habitually lie and they're all going to then find themselves losing their jobs. You're all going to learn musical instruments, except the recorder because it's the devil's instrument. And it's clear with a largely musical cabinet that this is a country where music is hugely important and King Grumpy I prevails. If that's the kind of country that you basically think to yourself, I could have some of that, well, you can vote in the community section now or shortly to say that's my kind of utopia. Or if you think that King Grumpy's rather tone deaf and it isn't the kind of place that you want to be, well, you can let your thoughts be known in that regard. Grumpy Sapper, all that remains for me to say is thank you very much for sharing your vision of Terra Melodiosa.
Thank you, sir. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to speak with you.
Not at all. Enjoyed having you on.
Thank you very much. Thank you, HG.